a 30-some-year man cry like a baby. That was me. When I talk to with the people, then I start remembering. But like I told them, it's not the same thing as one man remembering 190, about 194 people were in the company. That 194 people remember, oh man, I was most, the people that was, or that were around me, near me, like Thompson, well, he was my right hand man, he was my clerk. I depended a lot on him. Sergeant Ross was the supply sergeant. I used to chew him out all the time when he didn't give me what I wanted. So like Piccarelli, the red-headed guinea, boy, that hit me real hard too when he got hit. He was a jolly fellow. Okay, but go ahead. I took care of everything, you know, organization, administrative wise, making sure that the paperwork was done right and that people's needs were met. And if anyone needed something, I coordinated with the supply sergeant. But it was mainly administrative and choice. Into that company over there was a whole bunch of young kids, maybe 19, 20. I was one of the oldest one in the company at that time. But let me tell you, I'm very, very proud of those people for being at the time. We had what we call USs and RA people. And most of the people were USs, like Thompson. They only went into the service for a couple of years and they want to get out. But I'm very proud of those young people. Very, very proud. You can call they were good Indian American people. Oh, he was great. He was great. It's, I enjoy working with him. After a while, I used to show papers in front of him. Here, sign these. And he said, yes, stop. And he just went signing and we just kept on going. But he was a good company commander. Damn good company commander. The first stand down we had, I believe was in LC Gator, Bayonet. No, it was Gator. And, I was out in the field and the captain told me, we're going in for about 3 or 4 days. So we came back and they used to give us one pallet of beer. It was 72 cases of beer. And we just came back, I got my beer and we got some pot chops. We traded some weapons we have for the aviation unit. I don't know how the hell they got a hold of a pot chop, but those people ate hot every day. We didn't. We ate sea rations. And that night, the first time they came out there, I said, I'm not going to drink one beer because I know these people are going to get drunk. And sure as hell, I spent most of the night just dragging those people from the damn ditches and throwing them down in the cot, including Captain Brennan. He was plaster. Real short of equipment. People needed something, all kinds of equipment, steel pot, puncture liners. And I went to S4, and they used to give us you a small tag. We used to call it shoe tag. We turned the bad equipment in, and they gave us a shoe tag. When that equipment came in, we turned the tag in, and they gave us the equipment. But nothing was coming. So I told supply sergeant one time, and I said, pick up the three-quarter. We're going out. And we went by this field. It was all kind of chain link all the way around in there. And I told, hey, Raj, what's that up there? He says, that's a 2x4 yard. They said, you're talking French to me. What the hell is that 2x4? Boy, they got equipment with there. Well, let's go in. You can't go in. I said, oh, hell, let's go in. And we went by the gate, and we told somebody there. We were just going in and see what the hell was going on over there. And we were coming back. And I was amazed. There was all kinds of equipment there. There were poncho liners. And I said, oh, my God, my people don't have any equipment. Look at all this equipment here. I said, what do we got in the three-quarter? We're going to start breaking those crates. You can't do that. We're going to jail. I said, I don't care. Give me something to start breaking with this crate. And I loaded that three-quarter with equipment, everything. I had everything in there. My supply sergeant, he was about to shit in his pants. Raj, he was scared. And, I said about, so that from the gate, I told Raj, just hold there, stop. And I went there and I talked to the guy. I said, look, I'm taking some equipment now. I'll be coming back and sign the paperwork. And when he said, I said, right, First Sergeant. He said, all right, I'll be waiting for you. I said, let's go. On my way out, there were some brand new honey buckets there. I said, stop. We need 3 of those buckets too. You know what a honey bucket is, right? It's a little tree. We used to put that on the box, and we used to burn that stuff up there. And I said, and I started, I took 3 brand new honey buckets with me too. I went back, and I called the first, and I gave some of that equipment. That's when I got mad with the S4 officer. Well, no, it was going to take all that equipment away from me. I said, bullshit. With my dead body, and we went around there, but he didn't go into my supply room, though. He didn't go into my supply room. I used to sneak people back in. And I remember this young kid. He had about maybe 10, 12 days left before he rotated. I used to hire him in the company because I didn't want them to stay there. I said, well, look, this kid has been there all this time. He'd be ashamed that he gets shot with being so short. So I just hired him in the company. And I said, you know what your job is going to be back there? You're going to be in that latrine over there, and you're going to burn that stuff up. He said, what stuff? I said, you'll find out. When he was about to come up to it, you see this bucket here, you just pull it out, this big paddle, you put this over this stuff, put a match to it, and then you go with that paddle and you just keep moving that stuff ever so much. 10 minutes later, he went back. First Sergeant, I'm going up to the front. I understand back here, not doing that. I laughed my ass off that kid there. I did not send him from either. I found some other things for him to do. But let me tell you, he went up there first. He came back and put a gas mask on, and still with that gas mask on, he just came back and he said, First Sergeant, I'm going back up. I'm going up to the front. I don't want to stay here. Oh, he was my right-hand man. I used to tell him, do this, do that. I didn't have to supervise. He knew his job. He knew his job. I had some good people. Him and the milk clerk. He was everything. Milk clerk was everything. He was milk clerk. At the end of the month, he used to go with the pay officer. You know, regardless what it was, at the end of the month, everybody got paid. If they were out in the field, the pay officer went up there. And Manny was you could say the bodyguard for the pay officer. He used to make, Manny used to make, came back, was at at least that long away with people over here. Maybe a money order for my wife, and the man used to do that. I was most of the time out in the field. I only came by when it was necessary for me to be in the rear, but otherwise, Captain Brennan, I stayed there maybe a week, and Captain Brennan used to keep my ass out there. Go home back. I need you out there. And I said, okay, okay. Sometimes I used to go out to the field and hide from Brennan because he used to throw me out of there. But he said, your job is, no, my job is to be with my people, find out what they need. They were my people. Nobody mess around with them. I'm 5'5", well, maybe 5'5.5", and but I used to carry a long stick and hit hard with it. But nobody mess around with the company. Nobody. I went twice. Not like a company. Second time I went around. I went back with the 7 or the 6, but it was quite different. When we first went up there, we used to sleep with the rifle beside us. The second time, we had to turn the rifle into a supply room. And the main problem was drugs. People, I don't know how they got it, but that was one of the biggest problems we had then, is drugs, the people getting drugs. When we first came down, we never saw any fire base or nothing. We just went out there like gypsies from one place to another. But it's all dependent on the orders and direction from battalion. That's the normal SOP in the Army. Battalion commander says you're going to be there, and then you just went there. I can vouch for my company, but they were all good people. We had a good battalion.
They were close.
They were close. The battalion commander was a gentleman. He ran a good his battalion. After the real battle, I went back second day there with the supply sergeant. And our main job was collecting bloody equipment and trying to figure out what was coming up. It's finding out what was the morale of the company. So it was, well, it was hard. It was hard. Have you ever seen a 30-some-year man cry like a baby? That was me. I used to come out, and when I come to the rear and sit there behind a table I had and think about the people, I cry. And not proud of saying, oh, sorry, but I cried. Especially people that you know that say, oh my God, what's going on? It's my feeling. We had a Puerto Rican sergeant there, I forgot his name, and I went to see him at the hospital. He never died. He was out. He never, I don't think he even opened his eyes again. He was in the second platoon. It's him and I didn't see that one. That one was kid. The platoon sergeant was named Sergeant Class Pozo. I remember Pozo because he had re-enlisted, went back to the state, came back, and those people were leaving. No, that was for Da Nang, I believe it was. I was in Da Nang. And I said, you stay back here, and I'm going out. Captain Bennett told me, no, you stay here. And Porter said, no, I'm going out, I'm going out. And he was one of the men that, well, his platoon was nearly annihilated. That was in Da Nang. Oh, yeah. When they started getting replacement, well, I wasn't the same as because we were a tight bunch of people because we went together. And we spent a couple of months before we went over with these people. So, but replacement came, and you didn't know him. And in no time to familiarize with it either. They stayed there a couple of days, they get equipment, next resupplied chopper, go out there. That was my worst job when I had to go out and identify people. Especially in Da Nang. In Da Nang, we lost a lot of people. It's and it's not like over here when they somebody died, you go over there and they show you the person over there. There was 3 or 4 people on the floor, and you had to identify them. And in Da Nang, there was a big hangar over there, and that's all it was in that hangar was dead people. You had to step over them. And you identify people. And, well, those people, they went out to different hospitals. The ones that were close by over there, I used to go out and see them over there and find out what they needed there. But they were spread all over. Some of them were shipped out. And in Da Nang, I mean, in Vietnam, it's, you get wounded, you went to a hospital, you drop there for your morning report. Although we keep track of it if they were around there, but sometimes people get wounded and I never saw them again. And a good example was your father. He went out, then he went on a damn ship. So it's so dependent on how bad they were. I wonder some people were just shipped back to the States or to Japan. But they were bad. They didn't stay in Vietnam. They went out. Well, it's all dependent. It's all dependent. It's finding jobs, and if they came out of the hospital and they were fit to go out, I sent them out. Even when they came out, when they said they were fit, and I saw them that they weren't fit, they weren't going out. I just sent them out when I thought they were ready to go out. That was one of my big fights over there. You have to send those people out, and they ain't going out there, not yet. But I used to manage. I have to hide in the rear, doing something, keep them busy. But when they were ready, they went out. They went out. Well, when I called them out, I said, "You're going back out?" He said, "Yes, First Sergeant," and they just pick up their equipment and go out. But that's when I said that they were ready to go out. Not because some doctor said whether they were ready for full duty. I used to evaluate them. I was one of the last ones to go out from that group. I believe I left late September or the beginning of October. I don't remember exactly what it was. I never did go. I never did go on R&R either. We went as a unit. So when we had this R&R, I said, no, that man has been out there fighting. He goes out first. Before I go out, everyone in my company will go out on R&R. And since we all came at the same time, because when you got replacement, well, that, no problem with that. But when everybody went at the same time, and I tried to get everybody 7 days on. I never did go on R&R. Not that first year, I stayed in there because my people came first. I said, no, you go out there. You go and you R&R. You won't believe me. You won't believe this. I came up from the first time. I was stationed back in Fort Dix. I believe a couple months later, I went to D.C. because all the records were out there in D.C. And I got mad at David because when I was there, I was talking to some sergeant major there, and he asked me, "You want to be a sergeant major?" I said, "Well, why not?" I'm an EA, so next step is sergeant major. He said, "Well, you won't make it E9, no, with these records." And I had two things in that file. I had a picture of myself, and I got orders to go back to Vietnam again. I came back to Fort Dix, and I went and I raised all kind of hell with the personnel officers out there. And I made a copy of all my records, and I took them. I personally took them back. Then I make E9 in 1972. Well, the service like that, service is no happy medium. Huh? You either mad or you laughing your butt off. One of the two, but it's no happy medium. Nothing down straight line. It's just either to the left or to the right. Either mad or you're laughing. One of the two. Well, I was in 66. I was born in 31. So I was about, 35? We had some duds like any other organization, but they were mostly good people, good officers. The ones that weren't good, we weed them out. We'll find out a way to get rid of them. I live in Puerto Rico now. That's where I was born and raised. I don't even know how the hell Thompson got a hold of me. Because let me tell you, my last name, Rodriguez, is like Smith or Jones. Huh? A whole bunch of Rodriguez's. And I don't know how he got my telephone. I was sitting in my front yard one day with my granddaughter, and the phone rang, and my granddaughter, and my granddaughter said, "Someone's speaking in. They want to talk to you." Said to me, and when I got a phone, and Thompson said, "This is Harry Thompson." I said, "How the hell did you get a hold of my phone number?" He said, "We've been searching for you for quite a while," and that was. I believe was same year or the year after that we got together in Alan's house up there. My wife was sick at the time. She was at the hospital when I left her up there. I believe I stayed there a couple of days with you and I left because I had to go back.
But I do know that he came back from body identification. He is one of the ones, and I don't know if it was Rosh or Mike Manning, but one of those two guys went with him to body identification. They walked through something that looked like a big gymnasium, and they had bodies. I mean, we got to remember now, there's Capeco 1, 2 guys there, there's C Company guys there, there's A Company guys there, and they went through that whole business, and those guys had laid out all day long, and part of the night, I think, and I don't know. By my memory, I heard they came back. They brought the dead back in the next morning, or early the next morning, and so he saw all that, and he told me here just a couple of years ago, and here in Wimberley, that was the hardest thing he'd ever done in his life, and he'll never forget it because what the guys looked like. It was all horrible. It was absolutely everybody turned kind of like black and all that kind of jazz. And when you see your first man that's been killed over there, and you think you're gonna, I mean, I can remember doing it myself. And you go to body identification, you sit there, and you think you're walking into a funeral home, you're gonna see somebody laid out in a casket. That ain't the way it works. It's all nasty and blood and guts, and rice patty all over them and nasty, filthy stuff all over them and all that kind of thing. So he had to do that with all those guys. And so he was, you know, I don't know what to say, but he was on edge for sure, and he was really, really torn up for about, you know, he stayed that way. He was to the point to where, you know, you didn't really want to live with him, but you had to for a while there. And not that I can remember anything specific, but I'm going to tell you something. But I know for a fact that every time we had somebody get killed, he was a grumpy, mean old sucker for a long time, and he took it very personal. He took everybody's getting hurt, killed, everything very, very personal. And anyway, that's about the best I can tell you about First Sergeant.